And the first one it says find the reciprocal of 0.35. So let's rewrite 0.35 as a fraction first. So 0.35 is basically the same as 35 over 100. Reciprocal means swapping the numerator and the denominator. So that's going to be 100 over 35, which is going to give us 20 over 7. Then it says calculate 4 square minus 1.9 over 3.2 minus 2.6. So we're going to do, so 4 square is 16. 16 minus 1.9 divided by 3.2 minus 2.6, which is going to give us 0.6. So 16 minus 1.9 divided by 0.6 will equal to 23.5. Simple calculation. Then it says that Naveen and Esther share some money in the ratio Naveen is to Esther is 5:7. Find Naveen's share as a percentage of the total money. So Naveen's share is 5 in the ratio. So 5 over total money would be 5 plus 7. So that's 5 over 12. And it says percentage. So we times the fraction by 100. So 500 divided by 12 is going to give us 41.7%. Then it says find Esther's share as a percentage of Naveen's share. So that's going to be 7 over 5 times 100, because 7 is the number allotted to Esther and 5 for Naveen. So now we swap the numbers. So it's going to be 7 over 5. So 700 over 5, which equals to 140%. Then it says Naveen's share is $160. Work out Esther's share. So Naveen is to Esther was 5:7. If Naveen is 160, we need to figure out how 5 turned into 160. So if we multiply 5 by 32, that is equal to 160, which means we need to multiply 7 by 160 as well. And that is going to give us 224. So Esther's share is going to be 224 when Naveen's share is 160. Then it says simplify 5x squared minus 7x plus 6x minus x squared. So we just collect the like terms. 5x squared minus x squared is 4x squared. Negative 7x plus 6 is negative x. Simple algebra. Then 4x over 3y divided by 2a over 9y. So when we're dividing fractions, we take the reciprocal of the second fraction and change the division into multiplication. So that's 4x over 3y times 9y over 2a. So now, as we've done previously, when you're multiplying fractions, it's best to simplify. So y divided by y is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 2 and 4. So 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. So it's going to be 6x, because 2x times 3 is 6x divided by a. That's your answer. Then it says solve 5 brackets 3 minus 2x equals to 17. So first step is to expand the bracket. 15 minus 10x equals to 17. 15 minus 17 equals to 10x. Negative 2 equals to 10x. Negative 2 divided by 10 is x, which is going to be negative 1 over 5. Then it says the diagram shows a trapezium ABEF joined to a square BCDE. ABC is a straight line where AB is 7 centimeters. AF is to BE is 3:2. The area of the square is 32 centimeters square. Calculate the area of the trapezium ABEF. So area of the square is 32. So that means x times x is going to be 32. So x squared equals to 32. X would be root of 32, which in thirds is going to be 4 root 2. Now, this is 4 root 2. This is 7. They're saying AF is to B is in the ratio 3:2. So AF is to BE is 3 is to 2. So X is your BE. So this is 4 root 2. So how do we turn the 2 into 4 root 2? We times it by 2 root 2, which means we times 3 by 2 root 2 as well, which is going to give us 6 root 2. So this is 6 root 2. So for the area of the trapezium, we use the formula 1 over 2 times height times sum of parallel sides, which is most probably given the formula sheet as well. So area is going to be 1 over 2 times 7 times 4 root 2 plus 6 root 2. So that's 7 over 2 times 10 root 2. When you're adding surds, the number inside the surd remains the same. What you add is the number outside. So this is going to give us 35 root 2 as our area, which in decimals is going to be 49.5 centimeters square. Then it says write 0.0473 in standard form. So we move the decimal 2 places to the right side. 4.73 times 10 to the power of negative 2. The reason why it's negative 2 because we had to move the decimal from the left to the right side. If it was from the right to the left, then it would be positive 2. So 4.73 times 10 to the power of negative 2. And since we moved it 2 places, that's why the power is 2. Also for standard form, remember your first digit has to be greater than 0, but less than 10. So that's why it's 4.73, not 0.473. Then Talia invests $1,500 in a savings account for 4 years. The account pays simple interest at a rate of 1/6% per year. Calculate the total interest she receives at the end of 4 years. Simple interest has the formula of principal amount times the rate of interest over 100 times the time period. Principal amount is 1,500. Rate of interest is 1/6. So convert that into an improper fraction. That's 13 over 6. So that makes this 13 over 600 times 4. You can even rewrite this as a decimal. That's also fine. First, let's cancel out the zeros. So this would be 2. This would be 5. This is 1. This is 2. So that's 10 times 13, which is 130. The reason why I'm still doing this without a calculator is because I want you to have more practice for paper 2. Even though you're allowed to use the calculator for paper 4, but when you're trying to attempt these on your own, like for practice, try to do as much calculation as you can, like using a mental math rather than going for the calculator. Then says, Kylie invests $1,500 in a different savings account. The account pays compound interest at a rate of R% per year. At the end of 5 years, the value of the investment is $1,825. Calculate the value of R. So it's compound interest. That means we have the final value amount over here. And that equals to the principal amount times 1 plus the rate of interest over 100 to the power of time, which is 5. So write the formula over here. P times 1 plus R over 100 whole power T. So first we divide 1,825 by 1,500 because it's being multiplied over. So on the other side, it would divide, not subtract. And 1 plus R over 100 to the power of 5 is over here. And after that, we take the 5th root on both sides to get rid of the power of 5. So this gives us 1.040. And we have 1 plus R over 100 on this side. Subtract 1 from 1.040. That's going to give us 0.040 equals to R over 100. Multiply that by 100. And that's going to be 4.0%. That's the value of the rate of interest. Then it says on a map, the distance between two cities is 7.37 meters. The actual distance between the two cities is 365 kilometers. The scale of this map is 1:n. Find the value of n. So first thing, 1 kilometer equals to 1,000 meters. 1 meter is 100 centimeters, which means kilometer in centimeters is going to be 100,000 centimeters. That's the first thing. So now let's convert 365 kilometers into centimeters so that we can compare the distances in the same metric unit. So 365 times 100,000 will be 365,000. So this is your 365 kilometers in centimeters. Now we divide this by 7.3 to find the scale factor over here, which gives us 5 million. So that is your value of n. Then it says the diagram shows the positions of town A, B, and C. The towns are joined by straight roads. The bearing of A from B is 70. So this is your bearing of 70. Find the bearing of B from A. So this is what they're asking us to find. So if we extend this line over here, we can see that this is a straight line. And what you need to remember is that when we have parallel lines, in parallel lines, alternate angles are equal. So if this angle above the line is 70, this will also be 70. So for the bearing, what we will do is we will add 70 and 180 because this half circle is 180 degrees. So that gives us 250 degrees as the bearing of B from A. A very important point over here is that the bearing is always measured in clockwise direction from the north, and it's always written as 3 digits, not 2 or 1. Then it says the bearing of C from A is 195 degrees, and the angle BC is 113. We have to find the bearing of C from B. So the bearing of C from A is 195. Angle BCA is 130. Find the bearing of C from B. This is what they're asking us to find. So if we extend this over here, we already know this was 70. Because this is also 70. And we know this entire angle was 250. So if we subtract 195 and 250, that would give us this over here. So for angle BAC, we do 250 minus 195, which gives us 55 degrees. So this is 55. So now this is 55, this is 113. We can find the third angle over here. So that's going to be angle ABC. That's going to be 180 minus 130 minus 55, which is going to equal to 12. So this over here is 12. So now for the bearing, it's 70 plus 12 is equal to 0.82 degrees. If you notice, I added a 0 before 8 because the bearing is supposed to be in 3 digits, not 2 or 1. So 0.82 is the bearing of C from B. Then it says P is the point 410 and Q is the point -8 and 5. Find the coordinates of the midpoint of BQ. So very common question. For this, you need to remember your midpoint formula, which is x1 plus x2 over 2, comma y1 plus y2 over 2. If you struggle with remembering this formula, the next best thing you can do is that remember that you're finding the average of the x values for the first coordinate and the average of the y values for the second coordinate. So we do 4 plus negative 8 over 2 and 10 plus 5 over 2. That's going to be 4 minus 8 is negative 4 over 2. And then there's 15 over 2. And that's negative 2 and 7.5. Those are your coordinates. Then says the test scores of 13 pupils are recorded. So we have these scores of 13 pupils and we need to find the median. Median is the middle value. So since it's 13 in total, so that means that the seventh value is going to be the median. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remember, when you're trying to figure out the median or the range, you need to make sure that the values are in ascending order firstly. So it has to be from the smallest to the biggest. Over here, they already gave us the values in ascending order, so we don't have to do that. Next thing you need to do is check like what is the total number of values. Is it an even number or is it an odd number? Since it's an odd number, that means we can easily find the middle value from this and figure out the median. If it was an even number, then we need to find the two middle values and find the middle value of that. So in this case, they're 13, which means the seventh value is your middle value because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 after. So 34 is right in the middle, hence making it the median value. Then it says find the interquartile range. For the interquartile range, we need to find the difference of the upper quartile and the lower quartile. So for the upper quartile, we find the middle value of these numbers. So for the lower quartile, you find the middle value of these numbers, and for the upper quartile, you find the middle value of these ones. So for this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values, and 23 and 24 are right in the middle. So for the lower quartile, it's going to be 23 plus 24 divided by 2, which is 23.5. And for the upper quartile, it's going to be the value of these two. So that's going to be 40 plus 42 divided by 2, which is 41. So it's going to be 41 minus 23.5, which equals to 17.5. That is your interquartile range. Line L has equation y equals to 6x minus 1. Find the equation of the line parallel to line L that passes the point 0,3. So if two lines are parallel, that means the gradients of the two lines are going to be the same. So M1 would equal to M2. This equation is in the slope-intercept form, which is y equals to mx plus c, m being your gradient. So using your equation, you have to first identify what your gradient is, So using your equation, what you have to do is first you have to identify what your gradient is. Looking at it, we can see that the gradient is 6, which means the other line will also have a gradient of 6. So y equals to 6x plus c. Now c is your y-intercept. If you look at the question, it says that passes the point 0,3. At the y-intercept, x is always 0, which means c is also going to be 3. So this is your y-intercept. Two key points. Parallel lines have the same gradient. So whatever the gradient is of the line given, that will be the gradient of the other line as well. And then y-intercept always has x equal to 0. So if you have identified these two things, you can easily create your equation. Then it says write on the gradient of the line perpendicular to line L. So when you talk about perpendicular lines, M1 and M2 over here. So the product of the two lines will always equal to -1, which means 6 times M2 equals to -1, and M2 would be -1/6. So this is your gradient of the line perpendicular to line L. Then it says find the integer values of x that satisfy the inequality. So right now we have the range of values for 4 minus 2x. Need the range of values for x. So what we're going to do is we're going to isolate x in the middle. And to isolate x, we're going to move 4 to the other side first. So that means we're going to do -4 on both sides, which is going to give us -5 over here, -2x in the middle, and 4 over here. Now we need to get rid of -2 with x. So that means we will divide each number by -2. That leaves us with 2.5 over here, x over here, and -2 over here. Now, since we're dividing them by negative integers, that means we have to flip the inequalities as well. So that's going to be greater than over here, equal to, and greater than over here. So obviously this doesn't make sense because it's not the right way to write an inequality. So it's going to be x is less than equal to 2.5, but greater than -2. This is the correct way for writing this inequality. Now comes the main part. What are the integer values? So they're greater than -2, which means -1, 0, 1, and 2. We stop over here. We don't use 2.5 because 2.5 is not an integer. It's a decimal number. Hence, 2.5 is not included in the integer values. Only 2 is. Then it says A, B, C, D, and E are points on a circle. FG is a tangent to the circle at E. Find angle EAC. So angle EAC. So if you notice, ED is this chord, and out of this chord, we're getting two angles, angle C and angle A. So angles coming out of the same chord are equal, which means this is also 14. So EAC is going to be 57 plus 14, which is 71 degrees. Then angle ADC. So let's write this as 14. Angle ADC is this angle. Now to find angle ADC, if you look at this triangle right now, this triangle falls in the alternate segment theorem. According to alternate segment theorem, this angle is this angle, and this angle is this angle. So this angle was 71, so this is going to be 71. So this would be 34. So that means if we add these two, your angle ACD would be 34 plus 14, which is 48. And since we're trying to find angle ADC, ADC would be 180 minus 57 minus 48, because sum of angles in a triangle equals to 180. So 180 minus 48 minus 57 gives us 75 degrees. That is this angle. Then it says angle ABC. So ABC is this angle over here. So we know this is 14. This is 34. This is 75. So what we can do is we can use the cyclic quadrilateral concept, because if we look at A, B, C, D, all four vertices are touching the circumference, which means it's a cyclic quadrilateral, and a cyclic quadrilateral opposite angles are equal. So angle ABC is going to be 180 minus 75. It's going to give us 105 degrees. That is your answer. Then question 14 says that find the three inequalities that define the unshaded region R. So for the three inequalities, if you look at the one that's passing through x equals to -4, we can see that's a solid straight line. So when it's a solid line, that means it's either less than equal to or greater than equal to. Now to figure out which one it is, look at the unshaded part. So we can see that the unshaded part is the values which are increasing for x, which means x is greater than equal to -4. That is the first inequality. Now, next is this solid line. So this solid line is passing through this point and this point. These are your x and y intercept. So let's use these to find the gradient. So our rise over run is going to be, run is 4 units, rise is 2 units. And since it's negative slope, so it's going to be y equals to -1/2 x, and our y-intercept is 2, so +2. So for the inequality, it's going to be y is less than equal to -1/2 x plus 2. Why? Because look at the unshaded region. The unshaded region shows that we're looking at the values of y which are decreasing. So which means y is less than equal to -1/2 x plus 2. And then for the third inequality, now it's a dotted line. So a dotted line means that it's not going to be equal to. It's just going to be either greater than or less than. So for this one, our equation is going to be y is equal to x plus 1. Why? Because if we look at the equation, this is 1 point, this is another point. So rise over run is 1. So that's your gradient. And y-intercept is 1. So y equals to x plus 1. Now for the inequality, since the unshaded region is the values of y increasing, that means y is going to be greater than x plus 1. So your three inequalities are x is greater than equal to -4, y is less than equal to -1/2 x plus 2, and y is greater than x plus 1. These are your answers. Then says the function f of x equals to 2x squared minus 3x and g of x equals to 7 plus 2x. Find g of -2. So we just replace x with -8 in the function. So -8 over here. So 7 plus 2 times -8. 7 minus 16 is going to be -9. Then g of f of 5. So f of 5 is going to be 2 times 5 squared minus 3 times 5, which is 25 times 2, 50. 50 minus 15, and that is 35. So now it's g of f of 5, which means now it's g of 35, because f of 5 equals to 35. So g of 35 would be 7 plus 2 times 35, which is 7 plus 70, and that's 77. Then it says g inverse of x. So for g inverse of x, what we're going to do is we're going to put y equals to 7 plus 2x. Currently, y is the subject of the equation. We have to make x the subject. So for that, we move 7 to the other side. So we have y minus 7 equals to 2x. And then we divide both sides by 2. So x equals to y minus 7 over 2. So g inverse of x would be x minus 7 over 2. That is your answer. This is find f of x minus 6. So if you notice, originally it was f of x equals to 2x squared minus 3x. Now we're replacing x with x minus 6. So that's going to give us 2 times x minus 6 squared, and then minus 3 times x minus 6. So you just expand the bracket, 2 times x minus 6 times x minus 6, then minus 3x plus 18. So that's 2 times x squared minus 6x plus 36, and -3x plus 18 as it is. That's 2 bracket x squared minus 12x plus 36. And then we expand the bracket. So that's 2x squared minus 24x plus 72 minus 3x plus 18, which simplifies to 2x squared minus 27x plus 90. That's a quadratic equation. Then use the quadratic formula to solve f of x minus 6 equals to 0. F of x was 2x squared minus 3x. So 2x squared minus 3x minus 6 equals to 0. This is what we're trying to solve. So quadratic formula states that negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a equals to x. So a is the quotient of x squared, which is 2. B is the quotient of x, which is negative 3. And c is your constant, which is negative 6. So we just substitute these values in the formula. Negative 3 plus minus negative 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 6 over 2 times 2. That's going to give us 3 plus minus root of 51 over 4. So one value of x is coming out as 2.64 corrected 2 decimal places, and the other would be negative 1.14. What you would do is you would split this into two fractions. One would be x equals to 3 plus root 51 over 4, and the other would be 3 minus root 51 over 4. And then you would solve them separately, and that would give you two values of x for this quadratic equation. Question 16 says Tina records the mass of each of 120 apples. The results are shown in the table. Calculate an estimate of the mean mass of the apples. So for the estimate of the mean mass, we need the x values, which are going to be the midpoints of these intervals. So midpoint of 150 and 180 is going to be 165. Then midpoint of 180 and 220 is going to be 200. Then of 220 and 270 is going to be 245. And then for 270 and 300 is going to be 285. So these are your x values. Mean is basically sigma fx over sigma f. Sigma means sum. So what we do is we multiply the frequency in the x value and then add it to the next frequency in x value and so on. So basically 18 times 165 plus 28 times 200 plus 65 times 245 plus 9 times 285. And this divided by the total frequency, which is 120. So this is going to give us 27,060 divided by 120, which equals to 225.5. That is your estimate of the mean value. Then it says draw a histogram to show the information in the table. So for the histogram, as you can see, we need the frequency density, not the frequency. So frequency density is basically frequency over class width. So for the class, we need to find the difference of the intervals. So for the first case, 180 minus 150 is 30. So 30 from the denominator and numerator is 18. So that's going to give us 0.6. Then we have 28 divided by 40, which is 0.7. Then we have 65 divided by 50, 1.3. And lastly, 9 divided by 30, which is 0.3. So these are your frequency densities for the given class widths. So for 150 to 180, the frequency density was 0.6. This is your block for that. Then for 180 to 220, it was 0.7. So it's going to be in the middle. And then from Then from 220 to 270, it's 1.3. And lastly, from 270 to 300, it's going to be 0.3. So this is your histogram for the given information. Then it says one of the 120 apples is picked at random. Find the probability that this apple has a mass of 180 grams or less. 180 grams or less is this part. So we see what is the frequency for this. So frequency for this is 18. So 18 out of 120. Which we can simplify to 3 out of 20. Then it says two apples are picked at random from those with a mass greater than 180 grams. Find the probability that one of these apples has a mass greater than 270 and the other apple has a mass of 220 or less. So firstly, we're focusing at the apples that are greater than 180. So let's highlight that. This is what we're focusing on. So total number of apples are going to be 120 minus 18, which is 102. So these are the total apples that we're taking as a sample size right now. And then from out of these, we're saying that one apple is more than 270 and the other is less than equal to 220. So if we pick the more than 271 first, that's 9 over 102 times, then we have 28 over 101. The reason why it's 28 over 101 is because we already took one apple from the sample. So now there's one less. So 102 becomes 101. Or let's say we're picking the less than 221 first. So then it's 28 over 102 times the other one, 9 over 101. So this is going to be our probability. So 9 times 28 is going to be 252. So 252 plus 252 over 102 times 101, which is 10,302. So 252 times 2 is 504. So if you bring these down, so we have 504 divided by 10,302. Both are divisible by 2. That's going to be 252 over here. And 10,302 divided by 2 is 5151. This is divisible by 3. So that's 1717. And 252 divided by 3 would be 84. So this is your probability for the given question. Then says diagram shows the positions A, B, C, and D on a football pitch. Show that the angle CAD is 86.2 degrees, correct to one decimal place. CAD, this is the angle that we're trying to find. So we can see that in this triangle, we have all three lengths, and it's a non-right angle triangle, which means we will use the cosine rule. For the cosine rule, cos of CAD will equal to DA square plus CA square minus DC square over 2 times CA times DA. So that is going to be 10 square minus 18 square minus plus 18 square minus 20 square divided by 2 times 10 times 18, which is equal to cos of CAD. So that is going to give us 0.06 recurring, and CAD would be cos inverse of 0.06 recurring, which is going to give us 86.2 degrees, correct to one decimal place. Let's just calculate the obtuse angle ACB. This one. So, this is 86.2. We have this complete set of angle and length. We have this length. We have to find the corresponding angle. So sine rule is applicable when you have one complete set of angle and length, which is already given for point P. So what we do is 18 over sine of 27 equals to 35 over sine of angle C. So sine of angle C equals to 35 times sine 27 over 18. Sine of angle C equals to 0.88275. So angle C would be sine inverse of 0.88275, which is going to give us 61.97. They said obtuse angle. So for the obtuse angle, we'll do 180 minus 61.97, which is going to equal to 118.03 degrees. That is your answer. Then says a player runs directly from B to D in a time of 5.3 seconds. Calculate the average speed of the player. Point B to D, if he's running directly, so that's this. So we need to find this distance. To find the distance of BD, if you notice, ABD is making a triangle. And that triangle, we have two lengths. I need to figure out this angle of A so that we can use that to find the length of BD using the cosine rule. So we already know that the obtuse angle for C was 118. So this is 118. We can subtract these two from 180 to find this angle. So that is going to be 180 minus 118 minus 27. That's going to give us 35 for this. And this one is already 86.2. So 35 plus 86.2 is 121.2. So angle DAB is 121.2. So now using cosine rule, so if we move this down, so it's going to be dB squared equals to 10 square plus 35 square minus 2 times 10 times 35 times cos of 121.2. So plug this in the calculator. We get 1687.6. Square root both sides. So dB is going to equal to 41.08 meters. So average speed would be 41.08 divided by 5.3, which is 7.75 meter per second. And the next question says F is inversely proportional to the cube of G. So F is inversely proportional to the cube of G, which means F equals to K over G cube. When F is 0.5, G is 3, find F in terms of G. So let's first find the value of K. So 0.5 equals to K over 3 cube. So 0.5 times 27 equals to K, which is going to give us 13.5 equals to K. So F equals to 13.5 over G cubed. That's your answer. Then since G is increased by 100%, find the percentage change in F. So if G is increased by 100%, F was 13.5 over G cubed. That's going to be 13.5 over 2G whole cube, which is going to be 13.5 over 8G cubed. So that's 1/8 of what the initial is. 13.5 over G cubed. So if G was increasing by 100%, so it became 2G. So F is becoming 1/8 of it already was. So 1 minus 1 over 8 is 7 over 8 times 100. That's 87.5. So F is changing by 87.5%. Basically, it's decreasing by 7.5%. Then the area of the rectangle is 12 meter square, correct to the nearest square meter. The base of the triangle is 5.7 meters. Correct to the nearest 0.1 meters. Calculate the smallest possible height of the triangle. So area has the formula of 1 over 2 times base times height. So they've given us the area, they've given us the base, they want us to find the smallest possible value of the height. So area would be multiplied by 2 and then divided by the base to find the height. So since we're doing division, that means, and we want the smallest possible value, which means the lower bound. So we're going to find the lower bound of the area and divide by the upper bound of the base. Then we can get the smallest possible height of the triangle. So to find the lower bound of the area, it's correct to the nearest square meter. So degree of accuracy is 1. So we divide degree of accuracy by 2, which is 0.15. So for the lower bound of area, that's going to be 12 minus 0.5, which is 11.5 meters square. Now for the base, it's 5.7 meters square to the nearest 0.1 meters. So 0.1 divided by 2, which is 0.05. Then we do 5.7 plus 0.05. Because trying to find the upper bound of the base. So that's going to be 5.75 meters. So it's going to be 2 times 11.5 over 5.75. That's going to give us the lower bound of the height. And that equals, so that gives us 4 meters, which is the smallest possible height of the triangle. So the key rule in this is to first make H the subject and to see what equation we're dealing with. So we're dealing with 2 times the area divided by the base. Now, since it's division, and when you're trying to find the lower bound in division, the numerator will always be the lower bound and the denominator will always be the upper bound to get the smallest possible value. So once we have identified that, we look at the degree of accuracy of the area. We divide that by 2 and then subtract it from the area to get the lower bound. And for the base, we divide the degree of accuracy by 2 again and then add that to the base length to find the upper bound. After that, we just substitute in the formula to find the height, which turns out to be 4 meters. Then, since the diagram shows the frustum of a cone, the frustum has base radius of 0.6 meters and the vertical height of 0.48 meters. The vertical height of the original cone is 1.44 meters. Calculate the total surface area of the frustum. So, this complete length is 1.44. This part is going to be the difference of 1.44 and 0.48. So 1.44 minus 0.48, that's going to give us 0.96 meters. So this is that. So if you notice, the removed cone has one right angle triangle and the original cone also has one right angle triangle, right? So if we solve those two separately, and then for the original cone, So let's do the original cone first. So we have 1.44. We have 0.6 over here. We need to find the slant length. So that's going to be L square equals to 1.44 square plus 0.6 square. That's going to give us 1.56 meters for the slant length of the original cone. Now over here, we have the height, which is 0.96, but we don't have the slant length or the radius. So let's figure that out first. We know that when a cone is removed from a bigger cone, those two cones are similar. So if those two cones are similar, that means one cone is enlarged or reduced into size from this common scale factor. So for the scale factor, we can compare the heights of the cone and use that to find the scale factor. So for scale factor, I'm going to do 0.96, which is the height of the removed cone, divided by the height of the original cone, which is 1.44. So 0.96 divided by 1.44 gives us 0.67. I'm rounding it to 0.67. 0.6 recurring actually. Now, that means that the slant length will also change based on the scale factor. So 0.67 equals to the slant length of the removed cone, which is what we're trying to find. And the original cone has a slant length of 1.56, which we have already found. I'm calling this capital L, and this is capital R. So 0.67 times 1.56 equals to capital L, which is 1.04 meters. Okay. Next step is to figure out the value of capital R, which is the radius of the removed cone. So for that, we'll use Pythagoras again. R squared equals to 1.04 squared minus 0.96 squared. So that's going to give us 0.16 square root that. That is 0.4 meters. That is your radius of the removed cone. Okay, now for the total surface area of the frustum. If you notice, the frustum has a circle at the top, a circle at the bottom, and then this curved part. For the curved part, we subtract the curved part of the original cone from the removed cone. And for the circular basis, we do pi times 0.4 square plus pi times 0.6 square. So if we come over here, total surface area would be pi times 0.6 square plus pi times 0.4 square. And then over here plus the difference of pi times 1.56 minus pi times 1.04. So pi times 0.6 square is 1.1309 plus pi times 0.4 square is 0.5026 plus 1.56 minus 1.04 times pi, that's 1.6336. Add them all up. So if we add them all up, so that's going to give us 1.1309 plus 0.5026 plus 1.6336, and that's 3.267. So 3.27 meters square. That is the total surface area of the frustum. And your final answer. So in these type of questions, you have to do it very step by step. Divide the cone into different parts. See what part helps in finding the missing information. Identify all of your missing values, find the missing values, and then use that to find the surface area of the given shape.